There comes a moment when a nation stands not in the shadow of another's approval, but in the sunlight of its own truth. The world watches, the world whispers, the world wonders, yet the heart of the people beats steady, unshaken, unbent. True power is not counted in the number of weapons we hold, but in the courage to return those that come with chains. A nation's greatness is not determined by the magnitude of its arsenal, nor by the glittering display of imported machinery standing in neat, intimidating rows. Power is not in the roar of engines or the precision of missiles. It is in the decision to say no when yes would be easier, to walk away from a table where the meal is served with conditions that choke the spirit. When a country returns what the world deems valuable, it is not discarding strength, it is declaring independence. It is saying to the watching world, we are not for sale and neither is our soul. There is a dignity in refusal that no weapon can replace. For dignity is a shield that cannot be dismantled, and it protects not just the borders of land but the borders of the heart. In history, the moments that echo the loudest are not always those of conquest, but of self-respect. When a leader takes the difficult road of rejecting dependence, they walk in the footsteps of every warrior, poet, and revolutionary who chose honor over advantage. The gleaming jets, the complex machinery, the advanced tools of war may seem like symbols of strength, but their shine dims if they are tethered to the strings of another's will. To return them is not weakness. It is a statement that your destiny is not written in another's language. It is a reminder that self-reliance is the highest form of sovereignty. When your strength comes from within, no one can confiscate it, no embargo can block it, and no alliance can control it. This act is more than politics. It is a declaration of self-worth. It tells the world that the respect of a nation is not a bargaining chip to be traded for the latest technology. It says that real power is not about possessing the biggest hammer, but about deciding when and how you use your hands. Many may question such a move, wondering why a country would reject tools that could bolster its defense. But the truest defense is the unbreakable will of a people determined to chart their own course. A fighter jet can guard your skies, but it cannot guard your dignity. A missile can deter an enemy, but it cannot replace the moral authority that comes from standing on your own terms. There is also a quiet lesson for the world in such a gesture. It forces allies and adversaries alike to reconsider the nature of power. For too long, the measure of a nation's influence has been tied to what it can purchase or receive. But there is another deeper kind of influence. The influence of example. When one nation rises and declares that it will not be defined by what it accepts from others, it inspires others to examine their own choices. It sends a ripple across the oceans, reaching distant shores, stirring the courage of those who thought they had none. To return what is given with conditions is not to lose, it is to win something far greater than a military advantage. It is to win back the narrative of who you are, to take ownership of your identity without compromise. In this, the act of returning becomes more powerful than the act of receiving. It becomes a living testament to the idea that a nation's worth lies not in the magnitude of its possessions, but in the unshakable truth of its principles. And when the people witness such a choice, they understand deep in their bones that they are not just citizens of a country, they are heirs to a legacy of honor that no foreign power can bestow or take away. There will be seasons when comfort calls out like a warm fire on a cold night, whispering that compromise is easier, that the quiet path will keep the storms away. It will tell you that taking what is offered, even with the weight of strings attached, will make life smoother, less burdensome, less risky. But courage is a louder voice, and it speaks from the soul. Courage is the force that urges you to stand when it would be simpler to bow, to speak when silence could buy you peace, to return what others may covet because you refuse to be bound by invisible chains. It does not thrive in the shallow waters of safety. It is born in the deep oceans where the waves test your endurance, and the winds challenge your resolve. Courage knows that accepting the easy path may feed the body for a moment, but it starves the spirit for a lifetime. The road of courage is rarely paved with applause. Often it is lined with criticism, misunderstanding, and the sharp sting of judgment. Many will not see the vision behind such a choice. They will see only the loss of what could have been kept. They will measure worth by material gain and label the refusal as weakness or folly. Yet courage is not concerned with the approval of those who do not understand the weight of integrity. It does not seek validation from the comfortable. It acts because the truth within demands it, because to take the wrong thing even for the right reasons still corrodes the foundations of self-respect. Courage refuses to let convenience dictate destiny. There are moments in a nation's life when the choice is not between good and bad, but between good and best. Keeping advanced machinery, foreign weapons, or costly technology may be good for the defense, may even seem wise in the short term, but returning them, refusing to be beholden, is best for the soul of the nation. Courage understands that weapons can guard your land, but they cannot guard your freedom from dependency. It knows that short-term safety bought with long-term submission is not safety at all. The hand that feeds you today may one day hold you hostage, and courage will not accept a gift that can be turned into a leash. Courage also remembers history. It knows the stories of peoples and nations who took what seemed like blessings, only to realize they had traded away their sovereignty piece by piece. It knows the bitter truth that not all help is help. Some of it is a transaction disguised as generosity. Courage sees through the shine and looks to the terms written in shadows. It reads the fine print, not in ink, but in intention, and when it finds that the cost is too high, it has the strength to walk away, even when the world is watching, even when others think the decision makes no sense. To act with courage in this way is to send a message that resonates far beyond borders. It tells allies and adversaries alike that this is a people who will not be swayed by bribes of steel or seduced by the allure of advanced weaponry. It says that their loyalty cannot be bought, their choices cannot be dictated, and their future cannot be mortgaged. It is a lesson not just for other nations but for the next generation, that bravery is not always about fighting battles. Sometimes it is about refusing the fight that someone else wants you to fight on their terms. It is about knowing that to keep your hands clean you may need to let go of what others are desperate to place in them. It is a harder path, a lonelier path, but it is the path that ensures the flag flies without the shadow of another nation's hand above it. When the people stand together, the mightiest jets and the sharpest weapons lose their power to intimidate. The strength of a nation is not in the iron it possesses, but in the unity of its people, for unity is a shield no enemy can pierce and no storm can shatter. It is the force that binds the farmer in the field to the soldier at the border, the teacher in the classroom to the leader in the capital. When hearts beat to the same rhythm, no threat, no embargo, no foreign pressure can divide them. The strength of unity is not loud like the roar of engines or the crack of gunfire. It is quiet, deep, and unyielding, the kind of strength that endures long after machines rust and treaties fade. Unity is the great equalizer, the force that erases the line between the powerful and the powerless. In the eyes of unity, every citizen carries the same worth. Every voice matters and every shoulder bears the weight of the nation's destiny. It does not discriminate between the wealthy and the poor, the educated and the uneducated. For in the face of an external challenge, unity sees only one identity, the shared identity of the people. And when that identity is awakened, when the spirit of solidarity takes hold, it transforms ordinary individuals into an unbreakable collective. An enemy can destroy a weapon, but they cannot destroy a people who have decided, together, that they will not bow. History has shown that nations fall not from the strength of their enemies, but from the divisions within their own walls. Disunity is a weapon more dangerous than any missile, for it weakens from within and paves the way for domination. But unity is the antidote to that poison. It turns disagreements into debates that lead to progress, rather than destruction. It takes diversity of culture, language, and thought, and weaves it into a single fabric strong enough to withstand any force. When that fabric is intact, no amount of pressure can tear it apart, and no outsider can manipulate its threads. In times of tension, unity becomes more than a virtue, it becomes a necessity. When a nation chooses to return weapons, to reject what others see as an advantage, it is unity that ensures the decision stands. Without unity, such a choice would be met with chaos, division, and the cracking of resolve. But with unity, the people speak as one voice, and that voice drowns out the doubts and the whispers of fear. It tells the world that while machines can be taken away, the will of the people cannot. It is a statement that the true arsenal lies not in hangars and armories, but in the unshakable conviction of the united. Unity also has the power to inspire beyond borders. When others witness a nation standing as one, they see more than a political act. They see the embodiment of collective dignity. It ignites a spark in other hearts, showing that strength is not always about what you can wield, but about what you can withstand together. Unity teaches that even in the face of isolation, there is no loneliness when the entire nation walks in step. And in that step there is rhythm, there is resolve, and there is the quiet, unbreakable promise that no matter the storm, they will stand, side by side, until the skies clear again. The true wealth of a nation is not locked away in vaults, or stacked in piles of gold. It is not counted in oil reserves or tallied in trade surpluses. Real wealth is built in the unshakable principles that guide its choices, even when those choices come with a cost. A nation that values its dignity above its deals stands on ground that cannot be bought, bartered, or seized. When the lure of profit glitters in the distance, it takes rare strength to turn away, to choose the path that secures the soul instead of the purse. It is tempting to believe that material gain will always translate into strength. But history tells another story, one where those who compromised their values for short-term profit often paid a heavier price in the end. Principles are not negotiable when they form the very foundation of a nation's identity. They are the compass that keeps the ship steady when the waves of politics and economics rise high. Profit may promise comfort, but principles promise legacy. Weapons and technology may enhance a country's defenses, but if they are obtained at the expense of self-respect, they do not fortify, they weaken. A nation that accepts a gift tied with strings accepts not just the object, but the influence that comes with it. And influence, once embedded, can be harder to remove than any foreign presence on the land. Principles are the guardrails that prevent the erosion of independence, and they demand that decisions be made with the long view in mind, not the fleeting gains of the present. Choosing principle over profit is rarely celebrated in the moment. The applause is often drowned out by criticism, the wisdom of the decision questioned by those who measure success only by numbers and tangible acquisition. Yet in the quiet halls of history, such choices stand out like towering beacons. They are the moments when a nation defined itself not by what it could take, but by what it could refuse. To return valuable weapons or reject lucrative deals is to send a message to the world that there are things that cannot be purchased. The freedom to act independently, the right to decide without interference, and the moral clarity to say no even when it would be easier to say yes. This commitment to principle is not without sacrifice. There may be short-term losses, moments of vulnerability, and even internal dissent. But the deeper reward lies in the unshaken knowledge that every action aligns with the values the nation claims to uphold. Profit may fill coffers, but it cannot fill the hearts of a people with pride if it comes at the cost of surrendering control over their destiny. When the world sees a nation walk away from a lucrative offer in the name of principle, it is reminded that integrity is a form of power, a power that does not depend on alliances, markets, or military hardware. Such decisions ripple outward, shaping the perception of the nation for generations. They inspire allies to respect rather than manipulate, and they force adversaries to acknowledge a line that cannot be crossed. They also speak to the people within the nation's borders, teaching them that honor is not just an ideal to be spoken of in schools and speeches, but a living, breathing force that guides real choices. In the end, it is principle, not profit, that sustains a nation's dignity, ensuring that its flag flies freely, unshadowed by the weight of compromise, and that its story is one of sovereignty preserved, not traded away. No nation should wait for permission to rise. Permission is the language of the dependent, the expectation of those who have been conditioned to seek validation before taking their rightful place in the world. A nation that knows its worth does not ask, "May we stand?" It simply stands. It does not wait for the nod of a superpower or the blessing of an ally to move forward. The right to rise is not granted, it is claimed. It is inherited from the sacrifices of those who came before, from the blood and sweat of ancestors who fought so their children would never have to bow. To delay that rise until it is convenient for others is to betray the very struggles that built the foundation of the nation's freedom. Returning another's weapons is often misunderstood by those who measure strength in the weight of steel. They will say it is a step backward, a surrender of advantage. But it is in truth a declaration, a line drawn in the sand that says, we will define our own arsenal. The most powerful tools a nation possesses are not always the ones locked away in armories or displayed in parades. They are the unyielding will of the people, the ingenuity of their minds, and the resilience of their spirit. By returning what was given with conditions, a nation sends the message that it will not fight with borrowed swords, nor protect itself with shields it cannot fully control. To rise without permission is also to accept the challenges that come with independence. It means standing in the storm without waiting for shelter to be offered. It means building strength with your own hands, developing your own capabilities, and crafting your own solutions, even when doing so is slower, harder, and more expensive. It is the long road, but it is the one that ensures no outside power can dictate your step. For the one who gives you the tools can one day demand to decide how you use them. Rising without permission removes that leverage entirely. The world respects those who claim their place without apology. History is filled with examples of nations that hesitated, waiting for the right time, only to see their moment pass into the hands of others. But it also remembers those who moved forward despite the doubts, despite the criticism, despite the odds. Their courage became a beacon, their determination a lesson, their success a story retold across generations. Rising without permission does not guarantee an easy path, but it guarantees that the path will be yours. Such a rise also serves as a mirror to the people themselves. When they see their leaders acting decisively, rejecting dependency, and claiming the right to act without foreign approval, they begin to internalize that same spirit. It fuels national pride, not the shallow kind born of slogans, but the deep pride rooted in the knowledge that their country stands on its own terms. It strengthens their trust in the nation's direction and their willingness to endure the sacrifices necessary to maintain independence. In this way, the return of weapons becomes symbolic of something far greater than military policy. It is a physical act that embodies a spiritual truth, that freedom is not the gift of others, but the birthright of those who dare to take it. It is a reminder that no matter the alliances, no matter the partnerships, the ultimate responsibility for a nation's destiny rests with its own people. And when that responsibility is embraced without hesitation, without waiting for approval, the nation rises, not as a shadow of another, but as a force in its own right, standing tall under the weight of its own flag, and the full measure of its own pride.